Okay, hi, this is Professor JPS. This is for 54, Section 1, Thursdays 1 to 2:20, Chapter 6, Acting, Part 3. So in Parts 1 and 2, I described ideas from the textbook, Gianetti's textbook, in describing the four main acting categories, and then of, I think, most importance of the rest of the section of the textbook, the two main kind of acting styles in American film acting over the past 50 years or so. So just to reiterate where we plugged in from the last couple parts of our video chat here. One is the four acting styles. Again, that's extra, non-professional acting, trained professionals, and stars. And then the two areas, one is the British acting style, and the other is the so-called method acting style. Okay. Now, today's film, or whenever you get a chance to see this film, The Hours, directed by Stephen Daldry, it's based upon a novel. Now, I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but I think it's worth understanding a handful of things about this particular film, because I don't want you to bail too quickly on the context. The film is set in three different time periods. Okay? It's set in contemporary, then 2002, contemporary New York City, with Meryl Streep character who's caring for a man that she really cares for, who's very, very sick, and he's the second era is a 1950s housewife played by Julianne Moore, who is unsatisfied with her life and very, very confused and seemingly a bit out there. And the third era is the era of the early, I forget exactly which, I think it's the early 20s, in England by a real writer named Virginia Woolf. Now, look, this is not Marvel Universe, guys. So you have to pay a little bit of attention to what's happening. Virginia Woolf was an outstanding British author and a very early feminist in writing about the difficulty of being a woman in Victorian England. She's played by Nicole Kidman. Now, just so you have a sense, so you're not too freaked out or too bored, Virginia Woolf writes a book called Mrs. Dalloway, which is a sort of early feminist book. And in our film, she's struggling to write this book as she's struggling with her place in the world because she has some mental illness issues. She's not quite whole as a person, even though she's in this long suffering. The Julianne Moore character is a character who represents pre-third wave feminist thinking, and she's dissatisfied with her life. She's married, she has a beautiful baby boy, and she lives this 1950s button-down suburban lifestyle. And she's reading the book Mrs. Dalloway that Virginia Woolf had written many years earlier. In the 90s, to be the Ed Harris character that Meryl Streep is connected to. There's this thread between Virginia Woolf, who's a feminist author writing many years ago, who's an unhappy person, and she writes this book that our 50s housewife, Julianne Moore character, who's very upset with her own life, and she's reading this book, and becomes a part of this very, very strange and interesting and sad and valuable and good relationship in the 1990s or 2000s. So there's this thread that you must follow, and it bounces back and forth between these three marvelous actresses. Now, what I want you to watch for, if the best you can, is to see if you can figure out who's the best example of acting style, and whether one of the actresses is kind of using a little bit of both. The British acting style and the method acting style are not necessarily mutually exclusive. There is some room to do some more, or to do each while you're doing it. It's just that it's one is more dominant than the other most of the time. So it seems to me will really illustrate itself well in this film with the three different examples. Okay. Also, the film is really well edited, and it's a film that speaks from a very, very important feminist perspective. It's a film where the women are in charge, and it's a film that really is powerful in terms of its acting. It's all about the acting. It's an actor's movie, and I think it's a good illustration of the acting chapter, both in terms of film as opposed to the method acting style and the fluidity in between. So I'd like you to watch for that as you watch this film. Okay. So this is part 3, Communication Arts 154, March 12th. It's just a quick recap of what kinds of acting, for acting, the backstory for this particular film in terms of what you should be looking for. Okay. In the next section, I will briefly go over some of the important aspects of last week's film, Baby Driver, which I normally would start off, but I'm all thrown off by the NCC closing, in terms of diegesis and why it's a good film to demonstrate the notion of sound in film. Okay? Thanks.